I've been talking to a lot of technology executives, other business leaders, and AI experts lately about business models in the AI future. How do you adapt your value proposition to survive? And at my day job, I mostly write about the enterprise implications of this. But in my personal life, as a journalist, novelist, magazine editor, I care very much about the implications for individual content creators. So today I'm going to translate what I've learned from talking to business executives into some options that can be used by individual creators who want to have a career after all this AI stuff shakes out. And there are two major paths forward, one of which is going to work for us, and the other one of which is the one that's going to be pushed the hardest, but will probably be the least successful. All right, so before I get into that, my name is Maria Korolov. I'm a technology journalist. I write for CIO Magazine, CSO, Network World, and Computer World, and I have been for over 20 years. I covered the dot-com boom. I covered the transformation of the financial services, and I covered China when they were having their whole, basically, transformation of the whole country. I was a bureau chief there for 5 years. And for the past few years, I've been covering almost exclusively artificial intelligence, a little bit of cybersecurity, of quantum computing mixed in there. I started out as a computer programmer and my degrees in mathematics. But my first jobs as a journalist were covering just regular breaking news and politics and local government. And then I became a war correspondent. And I reported from Chechnya and Afghanistan and a bunch of other war zones. So I've had a very varied career. And most recently, I've seen a lot of technology trends come and go. Some made an impact, some not so big of an impact. Some people still wish had an impact. And I've learned some things along the way. All right, so let's talk about AI with the creative professions in particular, which is where I operate. And I'm hoping that some of the stuff that I'm going through will resonate with some of you guys. And so you might follow me along in this journey. So a couple of years ago, when the AI stuff first started coming out, and I was seeing it hit, and at first it was like, oh, this is really cool and interesting, new thing for me to write about. And then there was like, potential of this going a very unpleasant direction. During the dot-com boom, we had an explosion in journalism, first of all, because everybody wanted to know about the internet thing. But then once everybody knew about the internet thing, the effects of the internet kicked in, and the effects of the internet was increased productivity for pretty much everybody in the journalism profession, and decreased revenues for traditional media, which was a perfect storm that resulted in a lot of layoffs in traditional media. A whole bunch of new media arose: blogging, podcasting, YouTubing, newsletter writing, a million other things. Wild again. And so there was a little extremely unpleasant pain point in the middle there. That still is holding true for a lot of people in that traditional media space. But we're still continuing to see that play out. So I expect to see something very similar happening with online media facing AI transformations, except faster. So there was a lot of fear going on in my head over the last couple of years. But as I was covering the space and talking to consultants and talking to analysts and talking to actual business leaders using technology, I started to see some glimmers of hope. And right now, I'm actually seeing a path forward. And so I want to share that with you. And then as I explore this path forward, I'll share my learnings as well. So with AI, as with other kinds of technological transformation, and AI is a very big technological transformation, and I'll go into like the whys and wherefores of it, maybe like in other videos. This is significant. This is real. Every expert I talk to, but more importantly, the technology leaders I talk to who've been through a whole bunch of different cycles. They've been through the dot-com, they've been through mobile, they've been through cloud, they've been through outsourcing, they've been through service-oriented architectures and web services. They've been through the whole blockchain and the metaverse, and they've been through every other fad and every other platform change. And they've seen what works, they've seen what doesn't, they've seen what sticks, they see what makes business benefits. And they're all saying that the AI stuff is the biggest transformation that they're seeing. All right, so this is real. This is going to happen. This is going to affect everyone working in an area that requires human expertise. So just the same way that the internet disrupted everything that required access to information, AI will transform anything requiring access to expertise. So if you're an expert computer programmer, if you're an expert photographer, if you're an expert writer, if you're an expert video editor, if you're an expert lawyer, if you're an expert, whatever it is that you're an expert at, expert accountant, AI will disrupt your industry. It will change your industry. In some cases, it may destroy your industry. Like the cell phones really did a number on GPS devices, cameras, and like, a million other little devices that we used to have, tape recorders, and so on and so forth. So AI may also do something similar. All right, let's go back to content creation, 2 paths forward. And the example that I like to use, that it has been like replaying itself in my brain because it's very tactile, is that of a farm stand. And the agriculture industry itself has been wildly disrupted by automation. I mean, 95% of jobs have been lost. And civilization has still survived. So that's something to keep in mind. We can lose 95% of jobs and still have record low unemployment numbers. So yeah, we're going to be okay. But you've got a farm stand, and say Walmart opens next door. Walmart has better selection, better prices, out-of-season vegetables, like literally everything you could possibly want, Walmart has. How do you, as a small farmer, compete against Walmart opening up next door? And you can do one of 2 things. You can try to out-Walmart Walmart and start offering more products at better prices, out-of-season products, all the things that Walmart does. Or you can try to do something that Walmart cannot do and go all in on being the opposite of Walmart as the way to distinguish yourself. So if you want to out Walmart, very difficult to out Walmart, but possible. There are dollar stores, there are supermarket chains, there are convenience stores, there are department stores, Amazon and Etsy, and there's many different ways you can go head to head with Walmart, or go into an industry that overlaps quite a bit with Walmart, maybe in a particular niche, the particular style. But you have to be good at the stuff that Walmart is good at. You have to be good at picking a product mix. You have to be good at logistics. You have to be good at marketing and branding and price optimization and all those other things. If you try to out Walmart, you will no longer be a farmer. You will be a logistics person or a marketer or a brand builder, or whatever that thing is that runs retail companies that compete with Walmart. You are no longer a farmer. Or you can stay a farmer because the thing you love is growing carrots and selling carrots to people who will eat them and enjoy those carrots. That is the thing that, is kind of like the heart of what you do. And then you can double down on that. You can make it clear that by buying carrots from you, the money goes to you, the farmer, not to a giant corporation. So you're not competing on price. You're not competing on variety. You're not competing on whether it's organic or not, because Walmart now carries organic stuff. Walmart carries organic produce from local farmers. At least my Walmart does, right? So you cannot compete on individual products or product selection or logistics or any of the things that Walmart is good at. You compete at stuff that Walmart is bad at because of what Walmart is. So people want to give money to a local farmer because it makes them feel good. The food tastes better when they know where it comes from. They feel more virtuous because they're like, oh, they're giving money to somebody local instead of a giant multinational corporation. They feel cozy. They feel connected to the community. There's all these human feelings that go into buying something from a local farm stand. Most people who buy stuff from a farm stand will also buy stuff from Walmart and supermarkets and everywhere else. This is not an either or situation. People have multitudes inside of them. Somebody might go to a fancy restaurant, but also eat frozen meals at home. So we all do that. But you can carve out a niche for yourself where you sell to that emotion of buying something from somebody you know. And in order to sell that way, you have to market differently than you did in the age before Walmart. So before Walmart, you would sell your carrots by saying, you want some carrots? I've got some carrots. Here, buy them. After Walmart, you can't do that anymore because Walmart also has carrots. Now you have to say, these carrots were grown next door by me. I'm a good person. You like me. I'm your neighbor. Here is a TikTok video of me pulling these carrots out of the ground. Here's the Facebook page for, listing what things are in season. Here's pictures of me and my kids in the carrot patch, that kind of thing, right? You're connecting on a human level around this topic of your carrots. So it's a different approach to marketing. Now, some farmers have known this for quite a while, and that's how they do this. Artists have had to learn this when photography was invented. Because before photography, an artist would say, you want a portrait? Come in, I'll paint you a portrait. You want a pretty landscape to put on your wall? Come to my studio, I'll sell you a landscape. Afterwards, anybody with a camera can push one button and get a portrait, get a landscape that looks perfect, right? So what do you do as an artist to compete? And artists have figured out how to compete. And there's been an explosion in collectible art and brand name artists and new art movements. And there are still portrait artists who paint portraits. There are still landscape artists who paint landscapes. You can still do this. And the artists many of them have embraced technology. They might use photographs as reference images to work from so that their clients don't have to sit in a studio for hours and hours while their portrait is painted. They can work from a photograph. They will use photography to sell prints of their artwork. So you can buy a numbered print. They will use photography to market their work. There's photographs of their work in catalogs, for example, in the newspaper articles writing about them, in magazine photo spreads. So an artist, even one that paints with traditional paints on traditional canvas in the old human way, can still use technology to market their stuff. But they're focusing on their human story, the fact that they only started painting when they were 90, the fact that they have 50 children, or the fact that they live in this particular place and they paint the same sunset every single day, and that is the thing that they do, or whatever their story is, they zero in on that story. And the story is a huge part of marketing art. In fact, it's probably the biggest portion of an artwork's value, more so than the artwork itself. And that feels bad to say that. You want the artwork to stand on its own merits, but it never does. It just doesn't. People value artwork because of its story. The original Mona Lisa is priceless. If they were to hold an auction and sell it off, it would get so much money for it, right? Whereas if I have a copy of the Mona Lisa, even a really good copy that was painted by a really talented forger, so that even an expert couldn't tell them apart without carbon-14 dating, right? The copy would be like hardly worth anything at all. I can have a canvas print of the Mona Lisa put up on my wall for a few bucks. And if I stand a few feet away, nobody can tell the difference. But it's hardly worth anything. It's pretty much the cost of production and distribution. However much the canvas costs, however much it costs to print it, and however much it costs to ship it to me, plus a tiny little bit for profit margin, that's the cost of the art. The cost of the Mona Lisa itself, zero, because it's, in the public domain. Even though it's priceless work of art, and it's indistinguishable from the actual one, the difference is the story behind it, the uniqueness. This is the actual Mona Lisa. This is a copy. The artwork itself has the same functional value. It looks just as pretty either way. But that's not where the value comes from. The value of art comes in the story around it, the human emotional meaning of it, the social value of it, the perceived value of it, the status value of it, the rareness, the difficulty that went into getting this piece of art or in creating this piece of art. All of that is where the value of art comes from. And artists have learned this over the course of the past 100 years, that art is no longer a commodity. If you sell art as a commodity, this is a decent enough portrait of you so you know what you look like, right? That's not where the value is. The value is in the uniqueness, the rarity, the difficulty, the status, the perception of it, right? And the same is true for all the content that we produce today, all the creative content. There is a path forward. The path has already been walked in many other areas, and we can learn from the experience of those other areas. People who knit sweaters for a living, and there's knitting machines out there. People who do art, and there's photography out there. People who make furniture, and there's factories out there, right? So they've long had to compete with automation. For us as writers, automation is new and scary. Like, oh no, we're being automated. We thought we were safe, and now we're automated. What shall we do? Our lives are over. But that's not true, because our value is not commodity value. Our value in producing content is not the fact that we're producing a carrot that's edible and has certain vitamins in it. That's the commodity value. Our value is the emotional additional layer of value. So for example, if you're a journalist, you might have a layer of trust that's on top of the basic, this is the facts, right? You might have a value that's your human perception of it. This is this person's opinion of this topic, and I care about their opinion because I have kind of a parasocial relationship with that person. So that's like the added value, besides just the facts and just the trend analysis. In novel writing, again, you have a personal connection with the author. This novel is a reflection of the author's own personal history, own personal trauma, own experience, own unique perspective on the world. And this is the value of it. I have a personal connection with this author because they personally signed a copy of the book for me, because they're a local author who lives in my town, because this author is famous, and Taylor Swift loves his books, or Oprah recommended her books. That is like the social value of a creative product. And that is hard. Our work will no longer stand on its own merits because our work's commodity value is about to get disrupted by AI. And this is a mindset shift that we're going to have to go through. And it is a difficult one. Not everybody can adapt, but everyone could adapt with effort, with creativity, with kind of new perspective on things. You could adapt. And I'm going to try to adapt, and hopefully kind of can follow along and see what works for me and see what doesn't. So as a technology journalist, I'm pretty much anonymous. I mean, nobody reads my byline, and nobody can pronounce it if they do. Korolov. I mean, like, what the hell is that? Russians can't say it because my parents Americanized it when they came over. And so the Russians would like just laugh at that. Like, what kind of name is that? You know, in Russian, in original Russian, if like you were a Russian and you were talking, and I was like living in Russia and speaking Russian, my name would be pronounced Maria Viktorovna Korolova. And in English, my name is Maria Victoria Korolov. And it's like really different. But anyway, nobody recognizes it. That's my point. It's a commodity. I produce feature case studies, trend reports about how technology is being used in enterprises. The only people who pay attention to who I am are PR people who want to pitch stories to me. So they want to know what I write about. But I don't think the average reader really knows who I am, which means that I produce commodity journalism, commodity analysis, commodity case studies, commodity features. If my byline disappeared from the story, nobody would notice and nobody would care. That's a bad position to be in. So the first thing that people should do is try to change that. If you are in a commodity position as a content creator and nobody cares who you are and what personal additional value you bring to your product, then this is the time to figure out what your path forward is going to be. It doesn't mean that your career will disappear instantly. There's still print newspapers out there. I get one delivered to my house every week, and occasionally I read it. Those, the old things will still exist. There's still people writing 18th century style novels. I mean, there's still, people doing like everything that they always used to do. There's still people painting murals on walls, and cave painting was like one of the oldest art forms. There's still people carving things out of wood and out of stone. Old art never goes away. We just like add new stuff to it. So I don't think like anything that we produce is going to go away. We're just going to have new things added. But the things that we produce are going to be marketed differently, and they're going to be perceived differently. If you're writing fiction, again, market your story. What is it about you that makes this book different? What is it about your writing style that makes this perspective unique and valuable? And get out there, do signings, talk about your process on video, lean into being human. The same way that the carrot farmer might have TikToks of himself pulling the carrots out. As a content creator, you want to have videos of yourself painting or writing. You might have like write with me sessions where people like just watch you write on YouTube. Those are hugely popular. That could be an actual new revenue source for you. There's ways to create a human connection over your artwork, and it's going to be necessary to do that going forward. not if you already have a brand name, you're good. People already know who you are. Stephen King is, I don't think is going to have to worry about this because he already has that connection. People have seen him interviewed. People have read his other books. People have seen movies made of his books. That they have a sense of who he is, and they have that sense of a story and their experience reading his previous books and everything else. So that's already there. So if you're a writer who's been around for a while, great. You have an audience who cares about you. If you can cultivate that audience, even better. So let's talk about the other way forward, the embracing AI way. So let's say you're a novelist and you're like, okay, I have a couple of novels written in my series. I'll have AI write the next 3 or 4 novels. It's getting to the point where AI can do that. And there's novelists out there who will teach you how to do that. And AI is getting better and better at it. And that's really sad, but it's just the case. And a lot of people won't be able to tell the difference. Right? It's going to happen. You can complain about it. You can deny it. You can stick fingers in your ears and say, no, 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 no. But it's happening. You saw it happen in image generation already. It's happening in videos. It's happening in every art form. So what do? You can try to get ahead of the AI. So use AI to write your novel. Then you use AI to plan your next series. You use AI to market it, sell it, to optimize your distribution. You write 10 more books with AI. You write 100 books with AI. You write 1,000 books with AI. You write 1,000,000 books with AI. Because once you have a process going, you can just automate it and just keep turning them out. You can have an app that writes books on demand by AI. You can have a series of apps. You can have AI write your apps and write more apps. And so first of all, you're no longer a writer. You're now a developer. You're now a marketer. You now have to like compete against everyone else writing the same kind of apps. And it's possible, but it's a totally different career path. And frankly, if I wanted to be an app developer, I would have been an app developer. I wouldn't have gone into journalism and writing. I would have been an app developer from day one because that's what I wanted to do. It's a different career. And that's why I think setting foot on trying to stay ahead of the AI path can lead you in a very difficult direction. You'll be competing with Walmart. It is possible, but it's difficult. And it requires a completely different set of skills and expertise. And so personally, I'm not going to be setting on that path because I do not want to be a developer. I don't want to, focus on logistics and marketing and all this other stuff to the extent that those companies require. So if you have a supermarket chain, your marketing demands are very, very different than if you have a one-man farm stand. If you're selling 1,000,000 books, your marketing strategies are very different than if you're selling one book, right? It's the scale is so different that it becomes a totally different thing. And if you're competing in a space where the scaling laws apply, it's a very, very difficult level of competition. And as a creator, that's not a place where I want to be competing because there's no barriers to entry. If I figured out a prompt that works for writing these books, people can ask AI to reverse engineer my prompts and do the same thing. There's no barriers to entry. There's no competitive advantage. There's no moat. And when I have 100 different titles or 1,000,000 different titles on my Amazon page, it totally dilutes the brand. There's a reason Coke only has a few types of soda that they sell. I mean, they could be selling 1,000,000 different types of soda, but that would like seriously dilute their brand. They sell Coke, they sell Diet Coke, they sell, I don't know, whatever else they sell. But there's a limit to what they sell because they want to leverage that brand. And so I as a writer, if I have a million series on Amazon, each one with like hundreds of books in it, then that's going to destroy my value as an individual writer. And it might mean that my income is higher, but I'm not really a writer anymore. I'm more of a project manager, a developer, something like that, right? So, so yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use technology at all. So portrait painters can use photography as a reference images, as long as they're upfront about it, as long as they market it appropriately, as long as they say, I went to this beautiful place. I took a bunch of pictures of it. Then I put the pictures up on the wall, and then I painted a painting based on all these photographs that I took. That's a totally fine process to use if you're a painter. And people will not mind buying artwork that was created using this process. Or the painter will say, I set up my easel outside on this mountaintop and I painted this painting from life. And I was out there in the rain, and I was out there in the snow, and I was out there in the heat. And I put in all this work and I made this painting. That is also a perfectly valid way to create paintings. And people will pay for that. They might pay a little bit extra for that because they think, oh, that guy went through a lot of effort to get this painting. You know, they were snowed on and rained on and almost hit by lightning. This is a valuable painting because of that extra effort that went into it. This is where the story part comes in. So as a writer, you can do the same thing. You might say something like, I wrote this by hand from my own brain, and this was edited by a human editor, and like no AI touched this at all. And this is a product that was, you know, completely like handmade and, you know, not touched by computer. And I hand wrote this on notepads or whatever, right? So that's a marketing story. Or you could say, you know, I used AI to help me outline this. I used AI for the copy editing. I used AI for finding plot holes, and I used AI for the marketing, and I used AI to write the, the Amazon description, and I used AI to brainstorm titles, and I used AI to help create the cover image, and I used AI to help me create my website to promote this book, and I used AI to create the social media posts and all this other stuff. And there's writers who are doing that now, and there's writers on all sides of the spectrum, and there's writers out there who are just using AI just for like everything. So my recommendation is to find your sweet spot. What do you love to do? What is the added value that you bring to your creation? What is your unique human thing that you do? What is the story about that unique human thing that you do? And market that story and lean into that human process, because that's the thing that AI can't match. The AI can match your writing style. AI can match your themes. AI can match your cover designs. AI can match your, well, whatever it is, that the functional aspect of it. AI can either already match it or will soon be able to match it based on how fast it's evolving. But AI cannot match the fact that you are not AI. AI cannot match the fact that these images started out inside a human head. The AI cannot match the fact that you have a personal or a parasocial relationship with the reader, because you are a human and the other person is a human, and you're both part of the human family, and you care about what the other person thinks because we care about what other humans think, because we evolved to be social animals. We care about our part of the tribe. We care about belonging. We care about respect. We care about status. We care about people's stories because we care about other people. And we don't care about AI the same way because it's not people. And if it does become people, that's a wholly different discussion. But for the foreseeable future, AI is not people. AI is automated. So it doesn't actually care about you. It's not actually the thing that you connect with. The copy of the Mona Lisa is not the Mona Lisa, even if it looks identical. The holographic clone of Taylor Swift is not actually Taylor Swift. You would pay millions to have Taylor Swift perform at your party. You would pay a few bucks to have a hologram of Taylor Swift perform at your party, right? Even if it's indistinguishable from a distance, it's not the actual thing. And we as humans know that it's not the actual thing because we have the context, we have the story. We know that this is a windmill and not a dragon or a giant. We know this because we have common sense. We know that we're sitting in a movie theater, therefore that's not a real train because we bought a movie theater ticket and we walked inside and we sat down around a whole bunch of other people and we're staring at a movie screen. We know this. We know that something is a chatbot because we typed in chatgpt.com, so we know we're talking to a chatbot, right? We know these things and we know that the chatbot is talking to a million people at the same time. Whereas Taylor Swift is unique. She's singular. She's valuable because of her human uniqueness, not because of the quality of her songs or her singing voice. All of that stuff. I mean, there's so many Taylor Swift clones out there even before AI. That's not what makes her special. What makes me special is not the quality of my writing. It is my quality as a human. And that is the key distinction going forward. The quality, the value of the painting is not the quality of the painting, but the value of the human and the story of the painting, the human story of the painting. The value of the book is not in how well I write, but in my story as a writer, in the story of the book. And that's really, really hard because as a journalist, I've spent my career focusing on the quality of my writing, on the quality of my analysis, on my information sources, on all the stuff in my head about corporate trends and technology adoption curves and all this other stuff. That stuff is commoditized in the age of AI. That is not my value going forward. My value going forward as a journalist is my story as a journalist, my perspective on the news, my human connections to the people I interview and write about. That is my value as a journalist. And in the past, I've downplayed those aspects of it and played up my expertise, my understanding of the trends, my abilities as a writer, my abilities to explain complex topics in common, straightforward language. That was my expertise and value. That is not going to be my expertise and value. Super difficult shift to make in your thinking. Artists have already done this, and now it's our turn. This is nothing new. We've gone through this before as a society. We're just now going through it in other areas, and it's shocking and it's unpleasant. I've spent my whole career learning how to write well. I've spent my whole career learning how to stack a story, how to evaluate sources, how to translate complex topics, all these things that I've spent my career doing. I have not spent my career bragging about my experience in Afghanistan, or telling the stories of my reporting in Chechnya, or what it was like to run a bureau in China. That was irrelevant. It's not going to be irrelevant anymore. It was irrelevant before that. um, I have interviewed these sources in person, and I asked them all these questions, and they answered all my questions, and we had this little relationship going and this little conversation, and we really clicked. That was irrelevant. The important thing was, what answers did they give? That's changing, because the answers that they give, that's going to be commoditized. The relationship between me and the source, that's the unique thing. That's the thing that AI cannot duplicate. That human relationship, that human connection, that human history, my human perspective. I have spent my career taking my opinions out of stories, taking my personal perspectives out of stories. I'm not going to have to, because that's going to be the valuable part. That's going to be the value add. And so, yeah, but that's the path forward. That is something doable. That is something that we can do. It's a hard thing to do, and it requires a mental shift, and it might require changing what area of journalism you work in. So after the .com thing happened, I went from being a news reporter. This is what happened. And I was good at it because I could work quickly. I knew all the sources of information. I knew who to call. After the internet, that became devalued, commoditized, because everyone has access to all the same information. All the press releases are online. You don't have to go somewhere to track them down. It's all there. You don't need a Rolodex anymore. Everyone's contact information is on LinkedIn, right? You can just contact them. My Rolodex used to be my value as a journalist. And then almost overnight, it became worthless because now everybody can be contacted. Their contact information is on the company website. Their contact information is on LinkedIn, right? And I became a feature writer and a trend reporter. I was doing analysis of the news instead of just reporting the news, because the news itself became commoditized. And now my value was my analysis, my ability to translate things into, what does this mean for you? And now the same thing's going to happen again, except the analysis is going to be commoditized. And now we're going to have to look at the human relationships, the perspective, my opinion on things. And why would you care about my opinion? Because we have a parasocial relationship of some kind. You care about my opinion because you care about me. And that means people have to care about me, which is a very, very emotionally difficult. Because for many content creators and artists and writers, we don't want people to care about us. We want people to care about our work. And now they're going to have to care about us. We buy things from the farm stand, not because we need a carrot, but because we care about the farm. We buy a hand-knit sweater, not because we need a sweater, but because we care about the fact that it's hand-knit by a knitter who knitted it by hand. We don't care about the Taylor Swift song because it's a pretty song. We care about it because it's a song about Taylor Swift's last boyfriend. That's why we care about that song. It's the personal story behind it. And that's what it's going to come down to. So yeah, so that's the two paths forward. Become more human. Go all in on the relationships between you and other humans, because those things are valuable. And those are the things that account for the majority of the value of any particular product, not the cost of production of it. The value of this mug is not the amount of money it costs to produce it. The value of this mug is that I bought it from this bookstore, and that the revenues from this sale of this mug went to support this bookstore. And now when I drink from this mug, everybody thinks, oh, Maria frequents local bookstores. She's a good person. That is the value of this mug, not the commodity value of being able to hold a liquid. And that's why I bought that mug. instead of like a $2 plastic mug from it or from Walmart or a dollar store, because of the human value of the connections that this mug represents. And we're going to have to build that. So yeah, and this channel um, is part of the things that I'm going to do to build that connection. I'm going to try to explain to you who I am as a person and find some way to try to build a new career after all this AI stuff shakes out. That's not based on the fact that I'm really smart, that I know all these people, that I can translate these trends, that I can write about quantum computing and artificial intelligence algorithms, and the stuff that I do. That my value is going to be something different. So yeah, it's going to be painful. It's also going to be fun. It can be very fun. It's new. It's an evolution, and I don't necessarily think it's all that thing. It's scary and it's going to be painful to connect with people on a human level. Even if in career, I really haven't had to do that much before. So, all right. So if you're interested in following me along in this journey, you can subscribe. And someday I might even put up a newsletter, post these things on my website, and maybe even share them on my socials and like do all the other stuff you're supposed to do that I'm not doing yet. But baby steps, baby steps. And I might like figure out the whole audio thing at some point. And I don't think I'm gonna edit my videos because AI is better at editing than I am already. And so this way that you're getting this stuff directly from my head. I'm not reading a script. I didn't ask ChatGPT what my opinion on this was. I'm actually giving you my own experience, my own opinions, my own perspectives based on what I've lived through and based on what I've learned and based on my sense of how the universe works. Right? So if that's valuable to you, great. If not, that's okay too. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. If I can figure out where the stop button is. Oh, there it is.